Today I'm going to realize one of my DAWless dreams, and that is to create a shitty version of an effects send that actually works with a cheap DAWless device like Zoom's R4. Devices like this tend to have only one output, in this case a headphone jack, and there's extremely limited control over what you can route to that output. And that can make it seem impossible to take sounds that live inside here and run them through something outside of this device, whether it's the sound of a room or some sort of outboard gear that you may have, and then get that affected sound back into this device. This problem has confounded me since my very earliest sessions with Tascam's DP-006, but I think I finally worked out a workaround. Now, before I demonstrate my brilliant solution, let me first explain the nature of the problem, including for those of you who may not have actually run into this problem in your recording. Let's use as an example the exact thing that I'm going to demonstrate in this video. I have recorded the sound of a vocal to track number 2 on my recorder. I'd like to pick another track, maybe like track 4, and record the sound of a room. And what I mean is the sound of that original vocal already recorded bouncing around and being reflected in a real physical space. Well, how am I going to do that? To put that sound into some physical space, I would have to run it out of my recorder and into a playback source. I'm going to use a portable speaker. And then to record the sound being played in that room, I have to use a microphone. And you know, it's a recorder, so I could always just run the microphone back into one of the inputs of the recorder and thus record. Seems simple, right? Well, in practice, not so much, because cheap multi-tracker devices like the Zoom R4 or Tascam's DP-006 or Tascam's DP-03SD route all of the sounds that they are processing, both on playback and what's being recorded, through the same output. This is normally fine because this playback source is like a pair of headphones that you're wearing and you want to hear what's being played back and what's being recorded at the same time. But something happens when you try to record the playback and when what you're playing back includes what you're already recording. It creates something called a feedback loop that will, in the end, absolutely destroy your session. Yeah, that's what we're trying to avoid. Nicer and likely more expensive devices make it easy to solve this problem by giving you some flexibility to choose what sounds get routed to particular outputs. So for example, if I was recording with Tascam's Model 12, I could just choose not to send the sound of what I was recording to the same output that was producing the playback and thereby prevent the feedback loop. But I can't do that in a device like this. And for the longest time, I thought that it was basically impossible, or at least that my brain was too small to figure out a meaningful workaround. And then today, my brain grew. At least I think so. I haven't actually tried this yet, but we're gonna find out whether it works in this video. To do this, I'm gonna, of course, need a Multitracker with sounds recorded on it. I'm gonna be using the Zoom R4, which has a vocal performance recorded on track 2. That's what I'm trying to reverberize using one of the rooms in my house. Then I'm gonna have to get the sound out of this device through the only output that this has. It's a headphone jack, and that means that I'm gonna have to connect to it with a headphone cable, but not just any cable will do. I need one that can take the stereo sound that comes out of this device and comes into this little tip and carries it into not one, but 2 tips at the other end. And you'll notice, because there's only one little black band here, that these are just TS connectors on each side, and they represent the left and right side of the stereo signal that came in over here. Spoiler alert, I guess, this is where the magic happens. They're not entirely right here because I'm gonna need a 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch connection jack to make the next connection, which is gonna be to this portable speaker. What matters is that the speaker has an auxiliary input that I'm gonna be able to connect to just like so. And with these elements connected to each other, the next thing I need to find is a room. And this is a bathroom that's about 10 feet away from where you just saw me. I love the sound of a bathroom reverb, and that's what I'm going to try to capture in this example. And to record the sound of sound bouncing around this bathroom, I need a microphone. I could use the microphone that's built into the R4, but I'm not gonna. Instead, I'm going to use one of my favorite lesser known microphones, this PZM microphone, once sold by Radio Shack. I'm going to set you over here on top of the throne and get set up. The second to last step of the setup is to connect the PZM to the input of my R4 and to arm a track, in this case track 4 for recording. All right, I'm doing a test. Here we go. Obviously picking up some sound. Wonderful. And here's where the magic happens. I'm going to take the sound that I want to play back over here on track 2 and I'm going to pan it all the way to the left-hand side. There's no magic to picking the left side, but what matters is that I pan it all the way to one side, and then that I take the side that I've panned to and connect that side to this thing, to the playback source. The point is to have only one side of a stereo sound, one mono sound playing back through this device. And then I can exclude the sound that I'm recording to track 4 by doing really the opposite, going into the menu, picking, panning, and going all the way to the opposite side, to the right. The effect of that, if I was listening to this in headphones, is that the sound that I was recording would appear on only one side of my head, and the sound that I was playing back would appear on the opposite side. Kind of disorienting, not my favorite way to record, but perfect, I hope, for what I'm going to try to do today, which is to play back through here without playing back any of what is being recorded over there. All that's left now is to be as quiet as possible and then actually record to track 4. So here we go. It hurts me to be watching. Okay, I think we're done. Let's see if we did what we set out to do. I guess I'm gonna play it back using the same device, and I can do that by changing the routing, i.e. panning. Once again, I'll just push it all the way over there to the left-hand side. Can you hear it? I'm so glad we're doing this. Yeah, that's what we're trying to avoid. And what we managed to avoid for the entirety of that recording, so I just have to turn off the input part, and then we should be okay. You look back! I'm not gonna pick you up. That's my room sound. Honestly, it doesn't sound that great. I probably should have added some pre-delay to make the sound more reverby, but I don't care whether it sounds good. What matters is it works! Let me know what you think in the comments, including whether you've had this problem. And if you get a chance to try it, please do try it and tell me what you think about the results. I'm probably going to go try it again right now with the pre-delay. And I guess I'll append to the end of this video the sound of those two sounds combined when I'm actually happy with it. And if you're slightly insane and as a result intrigued by the sound of that isolated vocal, oh yes, it is from my upcoming song, Watching a Mirror Break. I'm trying to finish that song kind of as we speak. It's been a process, very frustrating, including because of some issues with that Zoom R4, but that's a topic for my next video. Until then, and as always, thank you so much for your time. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you around. I grasp but don't reach. Reach inward, just turn. My talk, it won't teach. So I smile through gritted teeth and you look back, I lock on, I'm not gonna pick you up.